recording and see what happens. Literally, we just have conversations, man. Don't feel obliged to like say anything not crazy, Justin. So, you know, of our like 125 listeners, no one's gonna burn you at a stake, man.
We can get as crazy as we want to.
I can take whatever you guys want to throw at me.
Oh, he said it now.
He said it now. Okay, cool. Now I can ask all my intellectual questions while I sip an espresso.
Ooh, that's a nice looking coffee out right there.
I feel like we get pretty deep into this with some espresso.
Real deep. But yeah, this is the podcast, everybody, and that's Steve. This is Justin. If you don't know who Justin is, you read Morning Chalkup, and there's Justin. So let's let Justin introduce himself. Go ahead, man, to give everybody everything.
Hey, everybody. My name is Justin LoFranco. I run the Morning Chalkup company. I started like all great companies in this world from my parents' couch when I was 29 years old, which was 6 years ago. So I'm officially a master's athlete now, and which is great. That way my open score goes up a heck of a lot more because I'm not in the individual category. I'm not necessarily that I've gotten fitter. It's just, you know, makes it a little bit easier to advance to the next stage. Anyways, if you haven't heard of us, we write a lot about CrossFit, the sport of CrossFit, community CrossFit, everything that's going on inside of CrossFit. Passionate CrossFitters, a team of brilliant writers and analysts and numbers crunchers who are passionate about CrossFit, sport of it, and love sitting around every day and talking about it. So that's what we do. If you haven't seen our stuff before, go to morningchalkup.com and start reading.
And if you guys haven't figured this out yet, this podcast is going to be a lot about CrossFit.
Just today. No, I remember seeing Morning Chalkup pop up on my Instagram feed 2 years ago. And I was like, oh man, this is pretty cool. What is this? And I followed you guys and I was like, oh, they're talking about every little nitty gritty thing. I think that was like around the same time, like the middle of like Ricky Gerard's like ban. And I was like, oh, they have all the news on this.
Well, that would have been, yeah. So that would have been about 4 years ago then. Well,
old boy's been...
I was saying mid-ban. So he's at 4-year ban, right? Okay. Yeah, it was 2 years ago.
Yeah, he got banned. I think it was like October is when the ban went into effect of 2017 because it was the first year of Madison. So, wow, that's a long time ago. Feels like
pretty crazy that it has been that long.
Yeah.
I know.
It's insane.
That was 4 games ago.
That was 4 Matt Frazier wins ago. Or sorry, 3. 3 technically, right? 3. Go. Yeah, 3.
Yeah, because you won 18, 19, you won 20, and then 21 was Medeiros.
Yeah.
Who's now drinking Monster like it's going out of style.
Yeah. And he's on all of my 8 Sleep ads that pop up on my YouTube. Yeah. I'm like, man, bro, that mullet, it's just a mullet.
See, I believe that he drinks the Monsters as a part of his deal. The people I don't believe is basically everybody else that signed that deal.
Yeah, like I know Chandler's not drinking a Monster.
Brooke Wells, she may crack him on her Instagram story, but I don't believe that girl takes down a Monster energy drink and then works out.
Yeah,
I don't know. You know, it's hard to say.
But in training.
Oh no.
Now, guys will find just about any reason to drink a Monster or an energy drink, and just into like perpetuity. It's either coffee or a Monster or a Red Bull, something, Black Rifle coffee. That's fine. But girls, I don't see girls drinking that many energy drinks, let alone in training 5 minutes before you hit like a Metcon. I don't even think dudes do that, but
I don't know. I've seen, I've been an affiliate for a long time. I've seen all manner of pre-workout, post-workout behaviors. One thing I haven't done a lot of is, I've spent a good amount of time with like games athletes in gyms, but you have to remember that they have like their own, sometimes they have like contractual obligations. So, they might not just be, there's a lot of beverage brands that are out there that are sponsoring different athletes. So, your Fit 8 athlete, O2 athlete, obviously there's Monster athletes now, and there's Killcliff, and
So
there's other
crazy.
beverages that are there. So, you know, you might, you just might
I mean,
not see it.
I get the contract obligation she has,
Yeah,
but at the end of the day, does that just make you an influencer? Like, you're not really an athlete for that company because they're not sponsoring you to be an athlete and rep their brand. They're sponsoring you to post pictures. Different story,
But
I guess.
I think each company is going to have a different intention for a different athlete. So, you know, they're going to say, well, this athlete, you know, activates a target demographic, and
Which is also funny on the people they picked to sponsor. So you look at all the women they sponsored, the more quote unquote attractive.
Yeah.
I don't want to call Brooke Wells anything other than respectful names, but I will say that very pretty face, very pretty, like, you know, just like her lifestyle, everything looks kind of influencer-esque, like when she goes out, right? It's very different than
that little mold.
Yes, it's very different than like Rich Froning. They clearly did not go to him or any of the athletes in his barn because most, if not all of them, would have said no because it wouldn't be for the money and they wouldn't want to do all those pictures. And Rich probably doesn't want Monster in his Mayhem gym where he's trying to sell coffee.
I wouldn't be able to, you know, honestly, it would be so hard to, I wouldn't be able to infer very well, but what I could say is that, you know, certainly about Brooke more specifically, is that I think her record backs up her performance.
Yes,
perennial top 10 athlete. You're not talking about, you know, a bottom 30, bottom 40 athlete, you know, who is, you know, she came on, I think she was 17 or 18 when she won, or she was 18 years old when she won her regional, central regional. First I think she was one of the youngest athletes at the time to ever win a regional. Rookie year, I can't remember where she finished rookie year, because there's so many stats.
I think she was sixth,
but
2015.
You know, so I think you're having an athlete who obviously fits what they're looking for, you know, from a marketing standpoint. But then, you know, she is a high performance, high caliber athlete. None of the athletes that if I'm not mistaken, that they picked are low performing athletes.
No, I didn't mean it in that way.
Actually, quite.
Most of them fit the demographic of either posting on Instagram constantly, good looking, Medeiros with his mullet that literally targets their entire demographic.
Yeah, all the rednecks in the South, just a mullet.
Not even that, but even like the Midwest guys, like he just rides around with a mullet on between a moped and a motorcycle.
That is true.
He looks like a minimalist. So
yeah. I mean, I'm from Tennessee. It's just I grew up around a whole bunch of people with mullets. Like it fits.
And nothing fits mullets more than drinking Trex piss.
Exactly. Do you think, but Justin, do you think that quote unquote Steve's thought of drinking Trex piss, do you think that was a smart move of CrossFit, or what do you think about the Monster thing?
To bring in Monster?
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna, you know, without knowing the contents of the deal, it's a little bit hard to know what the bigger picture is that they're seeing is. Does CrossFit have a revenue problem? Yeah, CrossFit's got a revenue problem. Does CrossFit have a balanced budget problem? Yeah, I mean, I'm from politics, so I'm using a little bit more, you know, real world terms here and stuff.
I understand them.
does this translate to bigger plays for CrossFit? Are they trying to translate some bigger opportunities for games athletes? Remains to be seen. So the question of why they signed the deal or didn't sign the deal, they haven't really spoke to in too much detail about what the genetic makeup is of it and why they ultimately went in that direction. They have said, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit here, that you know, bringing in non-endemic brands creates greater opportunity for expanding the sport into different audiences. Okay, great. I mean, that's a laudable goal. I think a lot of people inside of CrossFit see that as a laudable goal, and I do see it that way myself. And so, cool. Remains to be seen on what the effects of that actually are and how that plays out long term. Don't really know.
I don't agree.
It could just be a lie. But look, Monster is a major spender player in sports content, in sports endorsements.
They just have money to throw at the wall.
They have money to spend in a first-tier company, and the fact that they're able to do that, and if they do translate that into a larger investment in creating media outlets and content, et cetera, then I think it could be a very big deal.
I think if CrossFit gets a lump sum of cash here, right? And let's say that's the part of the deal is we've seen more or less what Monster has done or what their outreach is going to kind of be. I don't know how long the deal is for, but they get to plaster their name across the Alliant Energy Center inside. They get to plaster their name on some of the like walkways or whatever, and they probably hand out those like sugar-free Monsters all throughout the games. Now, if that translates because CrossFit has a money problem, right, and a balancing issue, there's nothing better than a quick cash grab that if the cash is big enough and it can solve some of your problems short term, you might want to do it. And then if they're just like, hey, man, we're going to go out, we're going to sponsor some athletes, we're going to throw more money at your athletes, more money into your sport. It helps us get our name out. I mean, they're obviously a global brand, but what sports are they really invested in other than combat sport and like dirt biking?
Dirt
Like
biking,
BMX.
BMX, combat sports.
And
those are
clearly
big ones.
none of those athletes are like having heart attacks. Like nobody in the UFC is having a cholesterol problem because of Monster that they're drinking. And if you have to slap it on the tag, that's fine. I think it would have been bad if they did something like a Coca-Cola brand, because that would have been,
I mean,
completely off the rails. This one is like,
but they're doing it to reach a different demographic, right? And from a socioeconomical like standpoint or thought process of I want to outreach into different communities. Like the people you're going to get is people that can afford Monster. You're going to get the people that know what Monster is. You're going to get the people that have been around it for a bit, you know.
Now, what do you mean afford Monster?
I say afford because I come from a really poor like background. I didn't have an energy drink until I was in college.
You know what the first thing that you see when you go in an army base shop at
That's
is?
an army. I'm not talking.
I don't want to hear it. We fucking make like $1.35 an hour.
Look, I'm not talking about the army. I'm talking about like you go into.
But think about it. That's a lower income job. The very first thing that is there is Monster. A Monster, a full, 16-ounce can is probably $2.89.
Yeah, but that's
quick, fat. That's why I call it Shrek piss, is because it's not worth the fucking can that it sits in most of the time. The sugar-free ones I'll have because sugar-free, hey? But I don't think first of all, I don't think very many people are drinking those like original like green or blue Monsters. I think the people are trying to go to the sugar-free
route.
I think they just give better taste, but it's not like Monster is expensive. Well, those Monster Power Waters or whatever that Medeiros drinks, those are probably like $5 a piece because they're like a very big water bottle that's probably like close to a Gatorade, which is weird. I would sell them for $1 for one or two the same way Gatorade does it, but they have a lot more profit. So I wouldn't say that it necessarily has anything to do like price wise, because I will say in your defense, Ken, I feel real bad saying this, but
$1.89 for a Coke, $2.89 for a Monster.
No. Monster, if I had to look at the prospect of like who their demographic is, it is white boys with fucking mullets or white boys doing construction, people doing like some of those other jobs. And like, it doesn't
manual labor jobs, things.
It doesn't line up directly with like a skin tone or anything, but I'm going to be honest. There's not a lot of like, at least from my perspective, there's not a lot of soldiers I've ever met that are African-American or even any other minority that are drinking Monster.
I didn't drink them often. Like
those other people would go and they would get coffee. They would get some other sugary drink. Bang was a big one that I think everybody kind of started to like. Yeah. But I don't think that Monster is hitting a demographic in any inner cities. So,
I mean, but I asked Justin this question because that's the reason we made this podcast. Do you think that the DEI board for CrossFit is actually doing anything? Do you think it's working?
Do you think they had any implication on this decision?
Yeah.
No, I don't think it had any implication on this decision. But I'm obviously speculating here because I don't know what the decision-making process looked like internally, though I've spoken with people inside of CrossFit about partnerships and management of partnerships and expansions, et cetera. But there's nothing that I saw from the outside that made me think that it was related to that at all, frankly. I just didn't see anything that indicated that they were making a move one way or the other to target a specific racial demographic, or something like that.
No, that was
So
that was completely speculation on my part.
I wouldn't. I didn't see anything. I mean, we look at the deals we look at deals and news and the conversations that we have at face value. We try to say, well, look, if we're trying to contextualize something or add perspective or context to it, is there something that is inside of the deal that makes it clear there was an element to it that is moving in a direction that's not inherently obvious to the external reader, right? And so you're like, hey, well, we have conversations with people in the know a lot, so that adds context to help shape or round out a decision-making process that the average reader or the uninitiated or just a regular box goer is not going to have that context. And so what we try to do is obviously provide additional layers of context, that give you background or insight or breaking down newsworthy pieces into understanding it better. And that's ultimately the intention here, or intention with what we do. So no, I didn't see anything here that I thought. But to your other question, which is about their initiatives, et cetera, they haven't really said a whole lot about what they're doing and what they're trying to do. There have been a couple of announcements here and there. They've had council announcements, et cetera. I think a valid question, though, to a certain degree, is whether or not CrossFit can really do much in this to a certain degree, because really the power inside of CrossFit and the community lies within the affiliate owners and the coaches, who are the single greatest touch point to the CrossFit community. It's not CrossFit HQ, it's actually the affiliate coach and owner and the culture that they create inside of their gyms. And there's using the US as an example, there's more than 5,000 gyms here in the United States, just somewhat 13,000+ or whatever around the world. But taking the United States more specifically, I mean, what CrossFit, I don't see, or I haven't heard CrossFit specifically saying, hey guys, like, we want you affiliate owners to do this, and we are asking you as a part of being an affiliate to do this or implement these kinds of programs. Mm-hmm. I think if CrossFit HQ has any role, it's in fostering it's setting a standard at the top and then fostering and hoping to encourage elements of diversity into their community and to be leaders in that area. But I don't think that they're in a position to mandate anything. And if there's going to be a significant adoption of anything, it's going to happen at the affiliate level.
Yeah. So where does that $3,000 that each affiliate pays each year, like that they pay to have that name of CrossFit in their name?
I'm an old school affiliate guy. So I mean, they're paying for the ability to license the affiliate name, or license the name, the mark. And that's a fairly inexpensive price tag for licensing the mark. And some of them aren't even at the $3,000 level. The ones who are grandfathered in, have other levels. There may have been a reset at some point in the new ownership of the company, but to my knowledge, that hasn't been the case. There's some legacy ones. They also have some nonprofit ones that don't pay anything for that matter, or
military affiliates.
Military.
And there's public education departments, I think, don't pay much or anything. Ones are implemented at like the school level, primary school or middle or high school levels. There's been some school districts that have been doing that, and some great examples of that. So I mean, what you're really paying for is for the mark. Now, if CrossFit has a vested interest, though, so on the other side of it, CrossFit has a vested interest in the success of its affiliates.
Yes,
its success not only from a financial standpoint, but in a market capitalization standpoint. So comparing the amount of individuals that do CrossFit versus, let's say, Peloton or anything else, or SoulCycle or Orange Theory or Pilates or any other fitness chain, CrossFit has a vested interest in its own success, the success of its affiliates. If it wants to let them live,
the institution is going to try to survive. That's its goal. Institutions just want to survive.
So it can take two stances here. It can say, well, guys, look, like for $3,000, we didn't tell you we weren't going to do anything, so we're not really responsible for doing anything. And it can also take another say, well, look, if we want them to stick around, maybe we need to change the value proposition. Well, maybe not.
They can make it more expensive.
It's a decision that they have to make. Right or wrong, it's what does CrossFit offer? CrossFit offered to allow you to use that. This is original value proposition. We're going to allow you to use CrossFit's mark, and that's what you're going to get from this. And you know what? CrossFit HQ at the time was heavily involved in promoting its methodology and sport and creating media that supported the affiliate level, because it was big enough and had the money enough to spend money to create these content pieces that lived on their channels. CrossFit affiliates could use those. They could, take those, and CrossFit itself was increasing its name ID by what it was doing. And then, now the new ownership, maybe saying something different. We want to be a conduit for supporting at a high level. We want to give them, and I think we're seeing a little bit of that. We want to give them a playbook. We want to give them access to better deals that allow them to so they don't have to negotiate with the brands. They can just plug into the network. They can get bulk rate discounts from brands that CrossFitters want to buy, like beverage companies and supplement companies and other things like that.
Yep.
So I think they're taking a slightly different stance, a little bit more corporate stance. But remember, we're not even 2 years of new ownership, so I think to a certain extent they're figuring out their own ideas, directions.
Well, because before it was like people were paying their $30,000 a year, right? And if you do rough math, if that 13,000 gyms across the world pay roughly $3,000, CrossFit would make $39 million a year.
Yeah, pretty decent.
What everybody was wondering was, hey, well, what are you guys doing with that $39 or $30 million, almost $40 million a year?
Yeah.
Technically, they don't really have a reason to tell anybody that, so long as they're not tanking the profit or the product.
Ultimately, this kind of comes back to the fact that CrossFit isn't required to reinvest that money in any particular thing. Obviously, they have things that they need to do.
Yeah.
They have and people forget about this. During several years, for the back half of the greater part of the 2010 decade, CrossFit was enrolled in a litany of legal battles, all of which actually had significant impact at the affiliate level, because what they were doing is they were defending the methodology against detractors and other individuals who were corporate interests or other fitness interests who were actually trying to detract against CrossFit's efficacy.
Big sugar.
And whether it worked, right? So you better believe that by stopping the first lawsuit, and you call these ambulatory changes type lawsuits too, there could have been an entire cottage industry basically developed around 5,000 gyms getting perpetually sued for tripping over a barbell or something like that in your gym, or not tripping over a barbell. That's silly. That's just an accident.
Someone hurting themselves.
I tore my my rotator cuff doing a pull-up because the coach told me I should be kipping, or something like that. And so CrossFit spent a significant amount of money in legal defense of CrossFit. And that was what you call the bloody years, the 100 years war of CrossFit, where it was literally going after, it was constantly in another battle. Their largest, I don't know this for sure, but there's kind of a rumor that was around. It's like the single greatest or largest department of CrossFit was its legal team.
Jesus.
I don't know if that's actually true, but cease and desist orders, defending the mark globally, those things costed a significant amount of money. It's a burden that CrossFit of today doesn't necessarily have, that they have to spend that money on. People often forget and don't really realizing that was the case. And you did need somebody like Glassman, who's, a barroom brawler type guy, who was like, you know what, like, all right,
we'll spend the money. We'll do this.
I'm going to get dirty, right? I'm going to defend this, because if we don't do that, then CrossFit in France can't flourish, because people are using the mark illegally. And then who's going to pay $3,000 to use the mark when it's not even protected on the international scale? So
yeah. You went to a very long explanation for are they doing enough? I get that. I get it. You speak like a politician. It's pretty cool, man. I worked on a congressional campaign my junior year in college, and it was wild. So you sound very political.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. But the point that I'm trying to make is that, CrossFit is taking this different angle towards things. They're trying to move on to another direction. India, get off me. They're trying to go in a different direction and be more community focused. You can see that with the first 2 workouts. Like, they were very simple. They, anyone could do them if you had a wall, a box, and a dumbbell, essentially, and a barbell, some weights. So was it a true test? Yeah, it depends on how much you're willing to hurt. So do you think that was more of them trying to make sure that people with lower incomes were able to do these things, or the smaller affiliates were able to do things?
I don't know if it was no, I don't think it has anything to do with affiliate personally. and the reason why I don't believe that is because in 2017 and 2016, 17, and 18, I believe 16 as well. I'd have to double check on the numbers, but I believe 16, 17, and 18, the participation was higher than it was this year and last year. So if you're saying, well, we made the workouts easier and we gave them fewer workouts and less equipment requirement, then more people were going to do it. More people did it than last year, yes, but not more people did it than those years. So, no, I don't buy that. But I think it's about making the lowest barrier to entry. I think it's about making it as easy as possible for any athlete across the board to be able to participate in it, and they don't have to worry about getting a large amount of equipment. And also complexity of movement. So you're talking about complexity of movement being a barrier to entry. If somebody sees a snatch or squat snatch or high rep squat cleans or something like that, they're just like, you know what, straight up, like, I can't do that. Like, that's just not a thing. So if you have 3-4 workouts that are really intimidating, and look, I've been a beginner CrossFitter for 5 years of my 12 years doing CrossFit. So I know what intimidating looks like. And I remember when CrossFit didn't have an RX division, when only had an RX division in the open. And I remember, yeah, man, you get those, you're like, oh, dude, you get those heart palpitations when an athlete comes up. You're like, if this thing shows up, I'm going to be totally screwed. And that's just the reality. And I was committed to it. Right? Because I wanted to, but there's a lot of people that get intimidated by that. So I think the move had a lot more to do with trying to say, look, CrossFit is for everybody. We at its basic level, at the beginning of the open, we're going to make it as accessible and easy to do it. We're going to try and find a balance test that accommodates the largest group of individuals, so the barrier to entry is very low and no one's completely freaked out by it.
And do you think that that's like a big? Do you think that how does Dave Castro fit into that? Like, how do you think his letting go? I mean, his letting go fit into that.
So as far as I understand, it was almost all of his programming. But I think it was that there was going to be shuttle runs in the first workout.
I thought it was the second, wasn't it?
Or was it the second workout?
The second one. I think it was the second one.
So there could be some tweaks in the time domains, and there could be some tweaks in the rep counts too. I'm not entirely sure, and that's kind of going more into the nuance. But I believe the movements were mostly the same as originally intended, as originally programmed. There's been a lot of evolutions in open programming over the years, and so I think it's a natural expectation to see evolutions change. And it's clear from what CrossFit is doing and what they're signaling, they want to prioritize participation. I don't think that they are internally happy with the overall figures. I think they want to see them get back closer to the numbers that they saw previously. That's what I think that their moves are indicating, is that they want to increase participation, and that is a primary goal. For the last year, for the first time ever, they actually ran online advertising for the open itself. They were running web ads and stuff. So
I can't remember what, like, if we look at a bell curve, you're familiar with statistics in the middle. So if they had to get back to that middle number, just the top of that, what do you think what is that number? Like 250,000 participants in the open, or is it 300,000?
Let me look here. I mean, we have a handy data.
I mean, the greatest was what, 400,000?
Yeah, 400,000. It was 2017. 2016.
2018. So
I think it seems like they're trying to get back to the point where people aren't scared to come try CrossFit. And at the same time, like, we just went through COVID. So I think they're going to take a little bit of time to get back to relatively close to that. But I think the other thing is, not only did people during COVID feel complacent and not going to the gym because they weren't open and they got into other things, right? They may have found other activities, but B, CrossFit, what was this, like probably 2015 timeframe is when it started to kick up again, where people were like, all right, fitness is cool, blah, blah, blah. I see these people doing this, I'm going to do it. And it was easy and it was fun. And then you get into it. And then now they have to go through that same portion again, where they have to not only convince people that it's safe, because people still walk around like, I don't want to do it, putting weight overhead, it's scary, people always get hurt. Haven't seen that video where that guy breaks his back? There's all of those. You got to get past all of it. Yeah, that was terrible. But then, hey man, let go of the fucking bar.
Yeah,
that's all it is. And then don't fall on it fucking nerd. But especially you don't really have to convince men as much. But like if you want the equal numbers on the women's side, you have to convince women, I think, a little bit more to come try CrossFit, just because there's no hiding yourself. There's no gym outfit that hides things you can't do compared to other people.
Yeah.
And from my wife's perspective, I hear a lot is just kind of like, I don't like this. I got to be around other people. And like, if the outfit doesn't feel good, she's like, all right, now I'm going to have other people looking at me. And I'm already not that great at this, right? I don't want more people looking at me for that reason. But if you go into like a Lifetime Fitness, right, you got everybody with the biggest pair of fake boobs, the nicest Nike outfit they can find, and the most expensive shit, and they're barely doing anything. So when you have to go to a CrossFit gym, you have to be open not only to criticism from a coach, right, possibly other athletes, it's very far and few between, and then you have to do things to a standard that if you were at any other gym and you didn't want to do it, you would feel no shame in just immediately changing your standard and doing something different. So I feel like a lot of people, they have to come back to this notion of CrossFit is good in that way.
Okay, so you're talking about two different things. You're talking about the increase in individuals, new individuals coming to CrossFit to do it for the first time. You're talking about convincing individuals to do the open.
Yeah, I'm also talking about bringing people back, because I was one of those people that stopped. I was one of those people that stopped like going to a CrossFit gym. I just started weightlifting in my house and going on runs with my dog, and I was like, "This is fine."
Natural. I would be curious what I would be curious what the natural life cycle of a CrossFitter is. How long individuals stick around and stay.
Are you talking about like a 9 to 5er and then coming to like the late afternoon class?
Oh yeah, I'm talking about an everyday CrossFit.
Those people, I would say it's probably like 7 years.
Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But
so you're saying I got only 4 more years left?
No, you're not a 9 to 5er, motherfucker.
I am technically.
No, you're not. Shut up. You do rowing intervals in your fucking garage.
Mm-hmm.
You're not a 9 to 5er.
I don't think CrossFit is having an issue with people participating in the open because there aren't enough CrossFitters out there. So that's
what do you mean?
So for instance, there's 5. Okay, so let's just say there's roughly the same amount of gyms that there are today as there were in 2018 when 416,000 people participated.
Yeah.
So I don't think CrossFit today as a fitness regimen is less popular than it was at its height.
No, but I don't think it's more popular.
Again, if you're 122,000 participants fewer and the same amount of people are participating in it, that is not a popularity of fitness regimen problem. That is a value proposition problem to get individuals to sign up for the open. So that's what I'm pointing out here, is that I don't think you necessarily need to get more people to do CrossFit to increase participation in the open.
Do you think it has anything to do with the price tag for the open? Not that $20 is that expensive, but
it was $20 back then.
But I think I will say, I think there's plenty of people I've heard recently that they're like, why would I give CrossFit $20 for me to not make it to fucking quarterfinals or anything? Well, I'm handing you money when I'm already handing this gym $150 a month.
I do remember in 2017, 18, what they consider the high water marks, the 2 years, the highest water marks. I think it was 386 and 416 from participation standpoint. And I don't remember people saying that nearly as much.
No, because I think it was the fad. Hey, I got to spend money. Got to spend money to have fun.
Yeah.
But now, like we're in like a reverse culture where people don't want to do that.
I'll give you. And look at this. So I like every now and then when we have some reliable statistics, it's fun to use them. So get this. All right, 380,000 participants in 2017. 416,000 participants in 2018. That's the highest. That was the highest participation rate. We call that the high water mark of participation. We also call it the high water mark of interest in the games. The immediate year following the changes that were made and announced, which a lot of people took negatively. They just didn't like it. They now made CrossFit not fun. It made it toxic and challenging and everything like that. There was a 14% drop in participation. happened
Wait,
the
what
same
made
time.
CrossFit
The
fun?
difficulty.
Oh, okay, difficulty.
Difficulty
Okay.
it
No,
increased
they
a
just
little.
when they fired staff, when they changed to the sanctional system, they did away with regionals. They did this different open announcement style thing. They just caused a lot of people to rethink whether or not this was a fun experience for them. Whether the workouts were still it was still a 5-week open. You know, it was still tough. It was challenging. You know, they had other divisions, et cetera, whatever, cool. They went from 416,000 to 357,000. That's a drop of 14.1% in participation. That happened the same time of year. So it went from March to March. Okay, remember? Now, when they changed it, they went from March to October. The numbers dropped 33%.
But how much of that
They
is
went-
just attrition that you lose by basic years, you know?
Well, they had no attrition beforehand. So you can't, 33% is not an attrition rate. 33% is a mass exodus.
Yeah, it is.
As somebody who owns a company, I can tell you, if I lost 33% of my readership over the course of 6 months, I would be extremely concerned with the future of the company's survival. 33% is a systemic issue.
It's like the movie Margin Call. It's like 25%. That means that you don't even want to know what happens at 25%.
Attrition is like quarter over quarter or
Yeah.
section over section, whatever it is you're talking about time frame wise.
Incremental loss.
3% incremental. That's called, I mean, the war of attrition just suggests that in order to grow, you have to grow faster than your own attrition rate. So if you do absolutely nothing, you have zero growth. Users just don't returning to CrossFit. Some people just, people are busy that month and they have kids stuff and family stuff, or maybe they're injured, so they're not going to sign up for the open because they can't do it. That's called attrition.
So you think it may have just came from
33%.
You think that mass exodus came from too much change all at once? They did the change too fast, too hard. I agree with you. This is the answer that I've been trying to get from a lot of people, and
that's what I think.
Yeah, I've talked to quite a few people at CrossFit, and I've asked CrossFit. I did an RFI for their data. I did request information like, hey, can I get just numbers of people and the state they're from? I don't want any PII. I just want to know this so I can run a regression table. I was like, I just want to find out what your R-squared value is for this. Like, I just want to know. And they would not give me that information. So I don't know how the hell you get it, but I want
it.
I mean, I think all those changes, as quickly as they happened, gave the perception that there was instability across the entire company.
There was instability.
It was.
It wasn't a perception. There was.
It was true.
Well, yes, but obviously, as a company, if you have instability, you want to project some form of stability. They did not do that in the slightest.
No, they didn't.
And they almost seemed complacent with the idea of like, hey, we're okay if we let other people know that, like, hey, we're average people too, and this company is going through some changes. Like, no, motherfucker, don't tell me that.
No, it's like Will smacking the shit out of Chris. You can't do that in public. You just got to do it behind the scenes. Like, just think about it. If in the army, like both of us been, like I've been in the army, Steve, you're still in the army. Like, if I needed to get chewed out as a 01 or 02 as a lieutenant by a captain, he's not going to do it in front of everybody. He's going to do it behind the door. Everyone's going to wonder what happened, but no one's going to think anything changed. But if he chewed me out in front of my people, they're going to have a really like diminished thought process of my ability to lead effectively. Like, they're going to be like, oh, that dude's a piece of shit. Like, I probably shouldn't listen to him. And I think that's what happened with CrossFit. Like, I really do. I wanted to grow. I wanted to get better. But honestly, I use myself as a prime example because I'm the only example I really know. I picked up a barbell 3 years ago. I never lift weights when I was growing up. I did just a little bit when I was in college for basketball, but not very much. And now I can clean 400 plus pounds. And it was all from someone trying to like teach me. Like, but it was all about
humble flex right there.
Yeah, no, it was good, huh? But in all honesty,
deadlift 400 plus pounds.
See, I was gonna tag you guys in my quarterfinals workout, the total, because I cleaned 385 and I had to lunge it forward to stand up.
Yeah.
So
Oh, okay. So clearly you have a 385 lunch too.
Subtle
guys,
brag.
you guys
Front
don't
rack
ever,
lunch, not
you
a back
guys,
rack lunch
you
too.
guys never repost my shit, man. You never repost
All right. Well,
it.
send it to me from now on.
But
I'll
it's
give some
like,
love. I'll give some love to it.
but in
Yeah,
all
nothing wrong with
honesty,
self promotion. All right.
Oh
exactly.
I'm all
But in
Jesus.
about
all honesty though, if I had known about this in 2011 when I first signed up for the Army, where would I be now? And it wasn't for a lack of not wanting to do athletic things. It was that it wasn't broadcasted to me
No.
and my community.
Well, 26,000 people did it in 2011. So it wasn't as if it was, a monster, participation rate. I mean,
But I also
and-
think, like you said before, in 2011, as the sport was growing, I talked to Ken about this and a few of our other guests. Like, I think at the time, CrossFit still had technically a bad rap because it was new and weightlifters, et cetera. Like, people were just like, no, that's not what you guys do to get fit. That's not how you get strong. That's, some weird fitness regimen. Don't do it. But then, when people would start walking into their local gyms and being like, well, this is boring or depressing, or I'm not getting anything out of this, I'm gonna go try something. And then that hooks you that much harder and stronger when you walk into a CrossFit gym and you get along with people and you see other people struggling and they do that stuff. So I think maybe it just capped. Maybe there's just that many people in this country that really want it. Because Ken, first of all, I saw something.
Go ahead.
First of all, I saw something last night that had to be the dumbest thing, and I don't expect either one of you guys to have a whole take on this, but it was something that MSNBC posted about people who are fitness junkies or like they do like weightlifting and such is a fascist thing now.
Yeah.
It is tailored to Hitler, and he wrote about it in, what is it, Mein Kampf or whatever the fuck he had.
Mein Kampf. Yeah.
And he said that like doing like weightlifting and running and it was related to masculinity, that was toxic and all this shit. And I was like,
that's a stretch.
That's what's
trying to put social science in the same realm of biological science is fucked up. You can't.
No, it is. But that's what I'm saying. We are also currently in a time period where most people, I'd probably say somewhere around 60-ish% will read something and they'll believe it. All right. It doesn't matter. Like, they'll see it on Instagram, they'll see it on TikTok, whatever it is. Like, they'll believe just in the morning Chalkup just as much as that fucking stupid article from MSNBC. Who they really should be believing is, we know the right answer there, right? Yeah. But I think part of CrossFit's struggle is Lifetime Fitness struggle, LA Fitness's struggle. Most gyms, period, are doing the same or seeing probably the same struggle, where there are some people who dad bods are still cool and being upset with your body is still considered like, hey, that girl over there might be very, very attractive, but her insecurities and that dude's insecurities look different. She just likes the fact that he's insecure about stuff, so it makes her feel good and vice versa. But then
I'm super insecure. Come on, man.
But like when you see dudes that are super fit or women that are super fit, right? The issue is not that they are fit. It is the fact that somebody else looks at them and says, you have a set desire. You are accomplished. You work seriously hard. I'm not trying to be about that life right now. I'm trying to be 27 sitting on my mom's couch, fucking going out having beers with the boys on Saturday. Are you willing to go or not? You want me to go to the gym? Sorry, I don't want to do that. It seems like there's like a commitment, there's a work, like effort problem that's going around the world right now. If I had to guess, that might actually have something to do with CrossFit struggles. Now, the perplexity of like what percentage of people they're losing every year, I don't think those two things correlate to that level. But I think something in America right now is going on where working out is no longer the cool thing to do. It's not gym tan laundry anymore, fucking going to the beach and drinking on nights.
So do you think the answer to that, Justin, is education or culture? That's it. It just goes down those two things.
I don't know. I don't accept the premise of the question, because that assumes that I think that that fitness is out of style, and I don't, especially when you have more accessible fitness regimens that popped up during COVID and exploded during COVID. With more at-home fitness. Peloton obviously exploded its participation, having some issues because now people can return to gyms. Planet Fitness has returned not only to the same level, beyond the same level that they were before the pandemic, but they actually have increased memberships overall across all of their gyms post-pandemic, because individuals had the opportunity to be at home, they're not commuting, and they could focus on finally getting a bike, or maybe getting in shape, or at least going for runs more frequently and regularly. We don't have exactly hard statistics, but I just don't accept the premise that less people are doing fitness today than they were before. So can't answer your question.
Dude,
I can't tell if that was his polite way of telling me that I was wrong.
He's telling you, yes, it's a polite way of saying reframe your fucking question, Steve.
No, I mean, I don't accept the premise that less people are doing it. I think empirically, I don't think it's supported either.
But I'm not saying that it's 100% or correlated. I think a lot of the people I've seen in CrossFit gyms, especially that don't want to do the open, or they don't want to participate in competitions, which that's always fine, right? But there's like my wife, she specifically knows, and she tells me like, hey, I'm not doing the open. Maybe I'll do like one or two of the workouts if I like them, but I'm here for fun. I'm here just to move and to do the basic thing. There are less people, I think, that are confident in what they are there for. And I think that has to do with the numbers that you see. Is like people who don't have I'm going to the gym just to be healthy. I'd rather just be here. And some of them would rather either just leave the gym, or they would rather kind of sit in the shadows.
Yeah. Well, I think Greg Glassman said this a long time ago.
Don't bring him on now.
Feels like a long time ago. But, he was like, look, he's talking about the evolution of growing your gym. He was like, all right, so you open up a gym, you're fit, got person, individual, guy, girl, whatever, and you're really gung ho about fitness and training. You're totally steeped in it, blah, yes, with a fire breather status, right? Mm-hmm. So your first 25 people are like your friends that are all like, yes, like let's go just melt our faces off with fitness, right? You're just like, and melting means you're talking about
it's a cult.
You're sweating, right?
It's a cult.
Yeah, you're like, oh my god, and then you bleed true CrossFit red and blue, right? And it's okay to get those people out of the mix. I remember him saying this. I was either at a conference with him or an affiliate summit gathering or something like that. He's like, okay, now you move on from that section, and you're like, all right, well, you get them to invite a couple of their friends, right? And then each person invites one other person. You get to 50 people, and they're pretty interested, they're pretty gung ho, and then you get them to invite maybe a family member, and you get another one person. So you're up to like 75 people, 100 people.
Kind of like those, like invite somebody, get like $10, $15 off your monthly membership.
But, you like-minded individuals, right? So like, I just want to get beat up. I go to the gym. I just want to get totally smashed and lay on the ground. And, I'm that early stage kind of dude. And then you get to the 100th person, and you're kind of like, you've moved a little bit to a degree of separation beyond that. Well, to get to 200, to get from 100 to 200 is like, you're going to have to go to, it's like everybody wants to work out with the first 100. They want those first 75, 100 people in their gym because they just want to go in, they're committed. They want 5 days a week. They're there 2 classes a day sometimes. I mean, they're going to drink protein shakes and they'll do the water at the same time. They're like, right? Everybody wants those guys in the gym. Those guys in growth. That's what.
Yeah, they help keep the community. They help keep the community long.
As a trainer, if you're a trainer, man, who do you want to work with? Motivated, just savages who just want to go in. They feed me fitness. Nobody wants to work out with the next 100 people. Man. They're less interested in doing that because you know who those people are? They're hanging out in malls. They're going and eating the wrong foods sometimes or all the time. That's freaking work. If you want to be a trainer that goes to work with the second 100. If you want to be a trainer whose job is very easy, work with the first 100. Here's a template. Here's an RP template. Here's the water of the day. You don't need to tell them jack. They're just going to go do it, educate themselves. They're so disciplined. They're gung-ho. Second 100 is how you get to 200 members because you're going to have to go out of your sphere of influence box. And it's going to be people who aren't motivated, whose primary concern isn't looking shredded or are probably never going to look shredded, because they are probably 45, 50, 60 years old. They're talking about longevity in life. They're talking about quality of life adjustments. They're talking about, movements and range of motion. That does not something you want to put on your Instagram channel. You're not like, look at that squat. It's like this fall. It's like, that's all they're squatting is this much.
Got that half jab squat.
Greg was talking about this and going, you know why you're not there? Because you don't want to coach those other people. And you're right. Those are the people that are showing up in a lot of the workouts. So go to your 4:30 class today. How many of those people have six packs?
Oh,
Right?
I see that. Yeah.
There's our 4:30, 5:30 classes at this gym that I'm currently at, they are the 9 to 5ers, but they get after it at 4:30.
Pick your every community is gonna have a slightly different alteration there.
I think our morning like 5 and 6 a.m., which still 5 a.m. man.
It's
tough.
just like the starting. It's just like the starting strength manual. Like you have the beginner, intermediate, elite, and advanced. You get more people from beginning to intermediate get so much more fitness gains in a short amount of time than someone who's over here that needs this incremental little tweak, and they go, that's all they get. Whereas this person's going, oh, I have this broad spectrum of things I can do now. But the thing that made me the most happy is what makes me most happy is when I go into a CrossFit gym or go into my gym, there's a new person there that's been there for a week, and then they finally figure out how to overhead squat or they get a front squat and they're like on top of the world. And I'm like, hell yeah, high five, bam. And then that's the 100%. Beginning. And then my gym owner told me, he was like, yeah, you should just, keep coming around, and all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but I got XYZ going on. And he's like, no, because you being here and helping someone feel better about the small accomplishment or small thing that they have made makes such a huge difference, because then they go tell their friends. Their friends go tell their other friends. I'm like, oh my God, there's a supporter community that's helping me do all these things. And that's how you get the other from 200 to 300. That's how you break that barrier, that gap. And, that's
how you get to the point where you have to limit how many people you have in the gym.
Yeah, or you got to have 2 coaches per class because you got like 30 people in there now. You're like, oh my gosh.
So when it comes to like growing a gym and how we talked about like the affiliate fees and whatnot, and like what does CrossFit owe people, do you think it would be a helpful idea? Because that just gave me a small like brain pulse there, where I was like, if you more of a pulse, not so much. I don't think so well. But if you charge gyms more, right? Like, and I'm saying like you go from 3,000 to 5,000 ish, right? Most gyms are charging above $120. 50 members would be like a pretty qualified ish small gym, still making about like 4,500 to 5,000 a month. You could probably afford it in the grand scheme of a year. But if CrossFit were to approve partnerships, discount codes, some type of like, we will help you at some point along the way grow your gym in a specific way, do you think that would help gyms grow? Because obviously nobody wants to pay more, but you kind of have to put more money on the table for a business to grow regardless.
Yeah.
Because I think CrossFit could easily make a deal, Noble especially, right? And I've seen a gym like Progressive that had a Noble-ish deal where it's like, hey, if you gave more people the money, right, or you gave CrossFit more money, and Noble's going to give you this whole gym, you can perceive or you can put in an order for X amount of shoes, right? You get like 50% off the entire deal, right? If you get like your entire gym to buy them.
It's kind of like Reaganomics, huh?
I just don't see there being this classical way to grow CrossFit without CrossFit getting some $100 million deal to expand the business.
And influx of capital? Do you think that's what Monster was? Just that
Monster's not enough capital to grow.
That may have been a $15 million deal.
Small. Oh, no.
Do you think lower than 15?
Oh, yeah.
Really? Well, the Army's put in millions of dollars. And
over the course of multiple years, but
that's what I'm saying, like a 4 or 5 year, $15 million deal. We get to plaster our name over everything and hand out free drinks. Nah,
that's too high.
Okay,
but I don't know. CrossFit has to, some of these things are tough in theory to even discuss, because it has a lot to do with what CrossFit's own goals are. When you look at their expansion and growth, and they could say, well, 5,000 is really what we consider to be critical mass inside of an affiliation standpoint. Do we need more affiliates, or do we need more affiliates to have more members, or do we need people to do CrossFit in different environments now? Do we need to start activating and engaging the garage gym audience? There are no answers to any of these questions. I don't know if CrossFit's asked these questions themselves internally. CrossFit's certainly not articulated those questions in any format or form that I've ever seen. So I can't even begin to hypothesize. Now, how I would do it is I would go more towards digitized fitness to expand CrossFit to a larger audience, because I think that there are too many affiliates inside the United States. There's enough affiliates. I don't see too many. There are enough affiliates inside the United States. There are enough affiliates that have been around long enough to have tried to get into the trajectory of being very financially stable, to the point where they have professional coaches and the owner is making a reasonable wage and stuff. And obviously different locations are going to require different denominations to support that life.
Yeah.
We're seeing anywhere from 150 on the lower side. There's probably some gyms that are skirting only about 100 mark, but a common number is about 150 is what we use. But we've seen some that are in the 300 to 500 range, so they're not very frequent. It's not a super common number. Yeah,
that's some fucking CrossFit New England type shit.
Yeah, there would be some of the Invictuses. There's some other gyms though that you'd be surprised. You'd be like, whoa, I wouldn't expect it, but they're really well run and they have 280, 300. And it is not a crazy number.
I would have that in like Los Angeles for sure.
I'd pay for the service.
Put up like one in like Beverly Hills and go do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't want to name any names because it just, that's their own business and discussing it, their own performance, but the gyms that would be, some of them are a shocker. Some of them you wouldn't expect, but they're just well-run gyms that have done a great job and they provide a great service to their members and they keep coming back. And so I don't know if I personally don't think that CrossFit as a community needs more affiliates inside the United States. I think that they have enough. There could be small pockets and communities that could use a gym because there aren't gyms for miles and miles. You're talking 20, 30 or 40 miles before you get to the next gym. So that makes it kind of an impossible choice. So for those people and people that don't like group fitness, there's a lot of people out there that do not like group fitness. They just do not. And it's going to be very hard for them to decide to do that. For those individuals, I think engaging them digitally and finding digital tools in order to do that, the way that there's other companies out there doing digital programming, digital instructions, I think that would be a very good place to start to expand CrossFit. That's how I would probably go about doing it, but I don't know what CrossFit's own goals are. I don't know if they care about having 5 million people grow CrossFitting, across the globe. I think that would be a great way to get more people into the gym. And we'll see if like I said, they haven't even been in the job for 24 months now yet. So I'd be curious to see, maybe what it looks like in a year and whether they've done anything. They've rolled out a few new initiatives and elements that they're trying to help the existing affiliate base. Curious, hopeful, wait and see.
Well, speaking of growing things, first of all, this podcast needs to grow. So I just want to remind everybody who is listening, so they don't have to just see it on my Instagram page. Go hit the follow, the subscribe, the like button, add a comment, add a review. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, then leave us a comment, then go listen to the other videos. And if you're doing it on Spotify or iTunes, please rate the show a 5-star. Hit the follow button. Apparently it's not a subscribe button anymore on iTunes. So make sure you hit the follow button, right? Then go back, listen to some more episodes. Give all 5-star reviews, give all the stuff, all the comments, and then Spotify is pretty much the same. So just go ahead and do the same.
iTunes as well. It's all in there.
But it's all on there.
Just heart it.
One of the last few questions I want to ask, Ken, you can double back if you need anything else, is Morning Chalkup. I think when everybody hears the name, even if you're not really into CrossFit that much, but you go to a gym, we all kind of get the idea that it's probably some type of, we're going to get some news. We're going to get some education here.
Someone's going to say something.
What was, when you created it, what was the purpose that you created it for?
Yeah, simple, really basic purpose, actually. CrossFit had, at the time, this was end of 2015 when I was thinking this up, and I launched it in the beginning of 16, right at the beginning of the CrossFit Open, was that CrossFit had its own mouthpiece, CrossFit HQ, and then athletes were doing different things all across the globe, and a lot of them were globally, there's European, Australian, etc. And there were different competitions, but CrossFit wasn't talking about different competitions. Sometimes they would only talk about the big name athletes. And I was like, there's so much stuff going on. There's a lot of different bloggers that are out there that are posting blog content and interviews and other things like that, and some YouTube people. I said, like, there's got to be a way to bring these things all together. So I came up with a newsletter, and the newsletter's name was Morning Chalkup, and essentially just, I'd married together the concepts of being, it's going to come out in the morning, and you chalk up before you walk up. So that seems like the first thing that you do before you're going to go to a big lift, do gymnastics or whatever. So I think this is kind of fit together. It was just a kind of the perfect marriage that created the name. And so it was a newsletter that was like, look, if you're totally steeped in this community and you want to know what's up, I'm going to make sure, hey, if there's off-season leaderboards, I'm going to include those. I'm going to aggregate that content or interviews, show you the cool links to check up on, and then what are some of the upcoming dates you want to be aware of and stuff. It's basically just a way to start your day. So like, it keeps you in the know. You read it every day, and you're basically the smartest guy at the gym. You know what's going on. You know what athletes maybe had a big lift. And
nothing coaches love better than athletes coming into every class, just like, oh, did you hear about this? Are you not knowledgeable about that?
Hey, that's the point. We wanted to create more of those people, and so that
you gave coaches headaches.
Exactly. That was the point.
I can't tell you how many times I was that guy walking into my gym. Oh, did you guys hear all the drama today?
I was that guy 100%.
It's on Morning Chalkup. My coach would be like, Steven,
shut up.
I don't care.
Shut up, Steve.
But I'm so plugged in and you're not.
Oh God.
So clearly I was that guy. I think something like this is kind of along the lines of why Ken and I started a podcast. We'll talk to just about anybody, and obviously being in the infancy, it's cool to so far like plugging things on social media and trying to, do small advertisements or whatever on Instagram. How did you get your like word out, or like when was like the first time that somebody approached you and was like, hey, this could be more than maybe what you perceived it to be? Because it's clearly it's much bigger than what it was.
We had some early offers to do advertising, which I just said no, thank you. I'm not ready to take on that responsibility of fulfilling advertising content right now. I'm just trying to make sure that the product works and the product is good and the product is super valuable. So I focused at the beginning on like creating a product that was necessary.
And was that only you just writing?
Yeah, it was just me. It was just me for 2.5 years. And, my goal was to make the product necessary, to create one product, and the product was necessary.
And that's a lot of pressure on you alone, just for it to succeed.
I have a question on how did you make it? How did you do that? Because I know everything has to have its own niche and it has to be like, you have to figure it out. But if you could tell us what we could be, like how, give us some advice. Go ahead.
I use this kind of paradigm to make decisions. It's a basic problem and solution paradigm. Is there a problem, and are you the solution? If you are the solution to an existing problem and you are the only solution, then you become necessary. If you are convenient among many other conveniences, then it's a choice between conveniences. It's like, okay, well, which type of toilet paper are you going to use? Well, there's like, this one. I like this one better. I like that one better. Bad example, but there's options. There was no other option.
Oh, I mean, there are options against us, necessary. I think. I mean, yeah, you became very necessary really quickly. I think like Saban is doing kind of the same thing we're doing, but it's one of him and Brian Friend, I think. But
yeah, Brian's a regular contributor on that. Yeah.
Don't show Josh Bridges that kind of disrespect.
That man can barely.
That man pays the man every day.
He chews his own crayons.
He was in the Navy, not the Marines.
Close enough. It still falls under the Department of the Navy.
No, he just sucks popsicles. He doesn't eat crayons.
But yeah, I don't know what we should do next. Like, I don't know what.
I think
be the next
as it pertains to business, I think we stick where we are now because again, we are like a month and a half into this, and we've had some terrific guests.
Super new.
I think the moment, not necessarily dependent upon who we have on the podcast, but I think if we have some more people from Mayhem, if we get like Jared Edgerton to come on and Matt Fraser to come on, And we just keep this steady stream of like solid guests.
Yeah.
I think like yesterday, I don't know if you saw this, but we had my buddy from high school who's a quarterback for the Detroit Lions on.
Oh, sick.
It's
Nice.
pretty cool. It's awesome. I got a bunch of DMs last night from other friends that were like, oh shit, I didn't know you knew somebody. And it was like, well, hang on here. I don't know Jared Goff, the starting quarterback. I don't know the coach, but yes, still at the same time, like it's a very steady flow of guests that are very interesting people that do interesting jobs. And so my hope, and I think Ken and I are both very relatable in this, is like, we know as of right now, there's a cap. To break that cap, we have to continue on a decent trajectory and just over time. So maybe like this fall, we start looking at something. But again, like there's plenty of podcasts that start and then, 6 months later, the two dudes or
They just die
whatever, they either die off or like, hey, work starts calling more often and you just can't get around to it. But
yeah.
podcasts are different, man.
The one piece of advice I have impart is be authentic to who you are, and there's nothing wrong with hobbies, and hobbies don't have to turn into businesses. Hobbies can be hobbies, and if you want to make a business, you have to find the value proposition for your customers, and your customers can be very different people. They can be multiple different types of customers, et cetera, and identifying who they are. And then providing an invaluable either service, product, et cetera. Like if you make shirts, you say, hey, we're going to do this because we need shirts that make it so you don't sweat. Well, okay, people are sweating all the time, I guess. And so you're like, we're going to be the only people to make shirts that don't sweat. So, according to the marketplace or whatever. These are bad examples in the sense of just trying to point out that you're going to do something from a business perspective that either nobody else is doing or you're going to do better than everybody else. Yeah. It's great Steve Martin quote, be so good they can't ignore you. Don't worry about impressing individuals. Matt Frazier said this. I don't worry about impressing anybody. I'm gonna let my work speak for itself. You go out, win 3 championships, people are going to talk about it. You go out and place third place 3 times and you got to talk about yourself.
Yeah. Like someone's going to talk about you. Yeah. I think I had put to me a really good, it's like, who said that, Steve? We had a guest on that said that you're 2 people away from meeting Bill Gates. Like that's, you're that close.
Who was that? God, we haven't had that many people. With Jared Stevens, I think.
It's Jared Stevens. Yeah, he's like, you're 2 dudes away from something big. And I was like, oh, fuck, that's crazy.
Sometimes.
Well, I mean, even like
that's what it is.
That podcast that I went on, it's my favorite. No free shout out, so I'm not going to give them a free shout out. You guys can go look at our Instagram.
Drinking Bros.
But God fucking damn it. Those dudes are probably some of the coolest people I've met. One of them is essentially, I wouldn't say this disrespectfully to his face, but he's class B actor, I guess. He's been in some things, directed his own some things, but a very talented writer in his own right. Another dude's just a military guy. And what they were able to do with originally some Black Rifle Coffee members, it was just, hey, we have found our niche. We found our audience, our target audience. It grew a little bit. And then I had a chance to talk to him. And it was even like, for somebody or a group, a company that does this much business, what is it like to know that you guys literally can just speak into a microphone on YouTube and you can get like 1 million responses almost immediately?
That's cool.
And
that's crazy. That's insane.
They were like, that's not a measure of success, but it is a measure of growth for them. And they were like, it is awe-inspiring that we started this. And they're like, we did maybe 100 episodes. And they're like, by the 100th episode, we had 1,000 people watching on YouTube. And it was like, there are legitimately 1,000 people I can't name off the top of my head that would listen to this just live at noon on a Tuesday.
That's crazy.
So, I mean, that's the part of growth that I look at. And it's like, that is a distant future. So hopefully we get there one day. But Justin, we gotta get out of here.
Yeah.
And we will let you go ahead, tell the people where they can find you other than just Morning Chalkup.
Yeah. 2 best places to find our content: morningchalkup.com. Sign up for our newsletter. Comes out Monday through Friday. 5-minute read every morning. best of the best, what's going on in CrossFit, and then on Instagram, Instagram.com/morningchalkup. And last year we published almost 1,000 stories. This year we'll probably publish even more than that. So if you're interested for CrossFit content, we definitely got you covered.
How many people you have on your staff now?
Yeah.
Rider contributors, I think it's six. Sometimes goes a little up, little down. Just depends on the season. During the season we tend to be a little bit heavier, just more of the sports coverage, and we have frequent guest contributors that come in just for a little bit, produce 1 or 2 stories a month. But the regular team's about 6.
Well, that's awesome, man. Thank you so much for coming on here and joining us. I know
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Ken and I both are very excited for it. So everybody go ahead. Oh, go ahead.
No, it took me like 4 assistants and like asking somebody, send me his email. And they were like, okay, he said yes. It's like, okay, good.
Well, everybody go ahead, go on to your iTunes, your favorite spot, whether it's that or Spotify. I think Amazon Music, maybe even at some point. Just go ahead.
Next month.
If you look up Not All Black and White, and most likely that is our Instagram tag, that will not get you to us. It's not all black and white, and the and symbol, or the and is the symbol for and.
And on YouTube, if you look up on YouTube, it's Not All Black and White. We're number 1 when you pop up. Now we are.
Okay, thank God. There was like 5
now we
videos
are.
of
Yeah. Now we're number 1.
other random shit. But go ahead, go in there, rate the show a 5-star, give us your comments. Anybody who wants to see, this is not an advertisement, but anybody, if you have merch or something like that, I wore one of our buddies' shirts yesterday. I'm wearing this thick shirt from Below Parallel. TBO Gym, I'm sure that James Townsend's thing.
Yeah.
Justin, what shirt are you wearing? Chalk Fit? Where'd you get that?
Oh, this shirt? This is my shirt.
Well, go ahead. Go to his stuff. Go get yourself a Chalk Fit shirt. Anybody else, if you have a business or anything related to CrossFit or any cool shirts, go ahead, DM us. Tell us you want to just see them on the show, free advertisement.
Yeah, we'll come on.
We'll come on.
Yeah.
Here a barbell. Right. Send me a barbell.
You gotta pay for it. I said that out loud.
All right.